Teach and Tug Travels. I'm Teach.
Tug.
Okay, so actually, I'm Donna,
And I'm Tom.
and we want to talk to you about Alaska today.
If you ever meet us, we'll explain the Teach and Tug.
Sure. Anyway,
So we're going back to Alaska again this year, and we thought we'd share a few things with you since we've had a lot of questions. So let's go, Donna.
Okay, well, the first thing is crossing the border. It seems to be such a daunting experience, but it really doesn't have to be. Just answer the questions of the Border Patrol. Don't give them any extra information or any additional information. They don't want to hear it. They're not, and they'll, but sometimes will tell you they didn't ask that question.
They're very serious. They're doing their job, but they have no sense of humor. So just answer the questions.
Make sure you have your passports ready, your vehicle registration, insurance, and if you're traveling with pets, make sure all of your documentation is ready to hand to them if they ask for it. Sometimes they don't. Make sure you have no firearms.
Yes. Learn that lesson.
Yeah, we learned that lesson.
You can take a shotgun or a rifle as long as the barrel length is correct. And I did that in 2017. I had all the paperwork filled out. The problem was we just caught one of those border guards that, I don't know, he wanted to be a big man or something. Not picking on them. They do their job. Anyway, so since I was in the military, it took us an hour and a half to get through there because they had to bring up all my military history and look at everything. So, but I mean, they let us go. Not a problem. So, anyway.
Just information. Look up any restrictions before crossing. They change daily. That's like things like food or alcohol consumption amounts or whatever. So just be aware of those that they do change. I mean, one time they may not want fresh fruits, and another time they may not want you to have eggs. So it really, like I said, it changes daily. The next thing we want to talk about is the milepost. And I happen to have one of those right here. I have the 2025 version of the milepost. And if you can't see it, it's got a really pretty picture of a moose, which happens to be Tom's favorite animal in Alaska. It is a great tool. It's a great tool for planning your trip. And I'm talking about from the border on up.
They break down.
Go ahead.
They break down everything in there. As per anything. They're getting water, sewage, dumping your sewage.
And it's broke down by mile and by kilometer once you get into Canada. So I happen to use highlighters during my planning or trip planning. And I use things like the blue highlighter for water. So it tells me where we're going to be, how many kilometers away from where we are now. Green is a dump station, typically. Pink is for pull-offs and rest areas. And most pull-offs and rest areas have dumpsters and vault toilets. I use orange for service station locations, gas and such. And yellow for any interesting stop. So anyway, that is my milepost. If you have any questions about it, though, you can sure comment, and I will definitely try to get back with you on that.
Yeah, I do all the driving, but she does the navigating. So, yeah, we've used this several times in our trips, and it's really a good resource.
It is, and it has some really interesting reading. So for the navigator, while the person is driving, you can read about the stops and a lot of interesting information and a lot of history on Canada and Alaska.
Okay, I got this. Fuel. People worry about there's no fuel stations. Where will they get gas? There's a lot of fuel stations. We've never had an issue. Last time, which was 2023, we did skip a station, which we shouldn't have. We did make it to the next station, but we didn't have a lot of fuel left. In my case, since we have a fifth wheel, I take 5 gallons of diesel with me, no matter what. Never had to use it. Anyway, our rule of thumb, which we broke, is we get half a tank, we always get fuel. You just never know. So get down to 3/4. It's a good time, or a half. It's a good time to get fuel. Get out and walk a minute if you're like me. What's next? Oh, DEF. Since I have a diesel and it's a 2022, it takes DEF. diesel exhaust fluid. In Canada, at the pumps, you're not going to get it. The co-ops have it and stuff, but you have to be a member, and it takes a long time to be a member. So I bought boxes of DEF in Canada. Canadian Tire has it. But I ended up buying, 4 boxes, and we used it all by the time we got back to the United States.
Another thing, and even in Alaska, you don't find a lot of DEF at the pumps. And why is that?
Because it freezes.
So
The temperatures get so extreme. I lived there when it was 60 below. I was young, and I lived through it. But I mean, it does get cold. There's one station.
in Anchorage.
It was in Anchorage, and they have heated DEF at the pump. And that's the only one we found. So just keep that in mind if you go. Make sure you have DEF. But you can buy it in Canada. There's a lot of Canadian tires. And they sell more than tires. I guess you figured that out. So use your credit card. A lot of people are cash only, but our suggestion is use a credit card unless you have Canadian money to get fuel. Because our credit card, and most of them, I think, will automatically do the exchange rate. So when we drove up there in 2017, it was interesting to get fuel at $200 something for the motorhome when it holds 80 gallons. That's what we had, a Class A then. Anyway, then a few minutes later, you look at the credit card statement and you see how much it came down because of the exchange rate. So we suggest that. Now, some places, if you try to use American cash, you're not getting change back. So we're going to get some Canadian money before we go.
Yes.
We still have some from last time, but we'll get $100 worth just to make sure we can cover laundry and all that. So next subject, go ahead.
One of the things that Tom always does is he makes a label for the height of our rig in meters. And the reason we do that is because when you get to Canada, it's in meters. You'd like to know your height going underneath a bridge or whatever. So you want to make sure that it is in meters, and it's a quick way to look at that. Mm-hmm. Also, don't forget about the speeds in Canada. They are in
kilometers, not miles per hour. Kilometers.
And of course, we never speed anyway, especially when we're going and we're looking for wild animals and stuff. So we know that. But I will give you a rule of thumb. 100 kilometers an hour is 60 miles per hour. So just as a general rule, 100 kilometers per hour is 60 miles per hour in the United States. No XM radio in Canada.
Mostly non-existent.
It really is. So what we do is we download audiobooks. Right?
Yeah, we do.
Also the cell phone reception.
Yes. You'll have, I think we had a day and a half one time that we had no cell phone reception. So if you're hooked on talking to your daughter every night.
Hey, that would be me.
Sometimes it doesn't work. But just keep that in mind. So in that case, if there is an emergency, there's lots of people in the Alcam, let me say that. But if there was an emergency or you needed to contact family, we have a Zoleo. It's a digital communicator. It's a satellite digital communicator. The rate on it is very cheap. You can send messages back and forth. And we do use it sometimes. And when we're back in the States, I just put it in standby, which is like $4 a month. Anyway, that way we always have it if we want to activate it again and go somewhere. But it worked out. We've used it several times. Next subject is road conditions. We drove it. I helped drive it in 1976. Show you how old I am. I was 16. Or 19. Yeah, 76, 77, one of those. Anyway, it was a lot of rock. And now most of it's paved. You will find parts that are under construction, which is a normal thing because of the weather there.
They don't have much
the roads up. So anyway, there's frost heaves. Frost heaves are a dip in the road.
When you see those, you know to slow down.
Thank you. I got lost there for a minute.
Typically, they will be, you'll see flags or cones that will identify.
They're little flags.
Little flags that will identify a frost heave coming up. But a way to really be able to tell is what? To watch
the vehicle in front of you. If it starts bouncing, slow down. And just because it says it's 60 kilometers an hour, you don't have to do 60. We don't. Some people will tell you, which I know somebody who told me, that you have to do the speed limit. If not, people have to pass you. Okay, you get people behind you, pull over. Big deal. Let them pass you. It's better than breaking a spring or anything else. I've never known one person that went under the speed limit that had any damage. So, I mean, I've only driven it 5 times, but, you know, just to keep that in mind. Plus, if you speed, you won't see any wildlife.
Right. And there's a lot of wildlife to be seen.
Yes, you'll see a lot along the Alcan.
You will. The other thing is...
We have in the past.
Yes.
Disclaimer. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is this. Don't follow too closely. That's when you're going to get chips in your glass, or you could potentially get chips in your glass. So we've not had any, but then again, we don't follow very closely. I'm not saying you will never get them, but...
Because trucks will pass you the other way in the construction site, and they will throw gravel sometimes. But we have a chip kit, 3 of them, underneath the back seat we take with us everywhere. And the only place we've had to use it was in Montana, I think, because we got a rock there. Ended up splitting the windshield, which was, we have insurance. And that's another thing. We lowered our deductible to, I think, $250.
Mm-hmm.
Normally we're $1,000, but that way it covers part of the windshield if we need it. And we got Progressive. So Progressive's $50 now with ours as far as deductible. But anyway, we do carry the chip kits, and that's a good idea, just in case you did get a chip in your windshield. You want to stop it before it does any damage.
The other thing is this, when I said watch for wildlife, watch for people pulled over on the side of the road. That is a big hint that there's something there. And so you see a bunch of people pulled over. Be very careful, though. You know, they're wild animals, whatever you choose to see. And there are people we have seen that will get out of their vehicles.
Walk down the hill.
Walk down a hill to get close to a grizzly.
Yeah. And got, what, 10 feet away from it?
Yes, from a grizzly. Are you kidding me? That is so not good. Don't be that person. Please don't be that person.
Next up. Oh, items to bring and items not to bring.
Right.
Okay, we got the windshield repair kit. We keep a tire kit too, a plug kit, just in case we have any problem. You get flats. You never know where you're going to get a flat. And I also have a Vi-Air. It's a little air compressor that hooks to your battery. I've carried everywhere. It never comes out of the truck.
Right.
So anyway, that's good, or a little air compressor or something. In case you did have a flat, you could patch it, put the plug in there, which is relatively easy, and put air back in the tire so you don't have to change the whole tire.
The other thing is this, if you're traveling with pets, make sure that you keep their pet food in original containers. And any type of food that you have, like meats, keep those in original containers if at all possible, if it's uncooked. If it's cooked, you don't have to worry about that.
We've never had a problem with that.
We have never. And we have had some in where we do seal a meal.
Yeah, whatever you want to call them. We call it seal a meal. It's food processing suck bags. Anyway.
And we've never had a problem. They've never asked us. But these are just some things that we have read. No pepper spray, but carry
bear spray. You don't need it up there if you go for hikes anyway. You need to go for hikes because Alaska is so beautiful.
Absolutely. Also, there's usually an alcohol limit when you cross the border. So for those of you who drink alcohol or wine or beer, you have a certain amount that you're allowed to bring over the border from United States to Canada. So just be aware of that. Read that. I think those change from time to time. Also, if you buy water or any type of a drink in a plastic bottle in Canada,
we didn't realize
you have to pay a deposit
on each bottle
for recycling. And I know there are some states in the United States that do that as well. Being from Tennessee, we don't. Here I am going into a Walmart and I'm like, ooh, this water's cheap. But when I got up to pay for it, not so much. When you had to pay so much per bottle
and we didn't realize
for recycling.
We got out to the car
No.
or back to the motor home and went, why was it so high?
Yes.
But anyway, they do have places, they're big on recycling. And what I didn't take them back and get my 3 cents or 5 cents a bottle back. But they do have certain dumpsters for education. So I put it in there. That way it helps their education system.
Absolutely. Another thing, to make sure you have all of your medicines and that if you need refills, make sure that you are getting them filled at a place that you can get them along the route. So I typically have enough that will get us through Canada. And then if we need refills, we can get those in Alaska. And I use Walgreens for that reason, because there are a lot of towns in Alaska that will have a Walgreens. Not all of them will have a Kroger, or they call them Fred Meyers up there in Alaska. Anyway, so those are our tips about that. We have
Okay. Now we're done with that.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do? What do you see? Go ahead.
Okay, on the way up there, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about these gigantic cinnamon rolls,
They're good.
and they are so good. But it's at Teesta River Lodge.
It's
TA
Yeah.
River Lodge. They have the best cinnamon rolls.
They're on the left-hand side as you go up.
Huge. They're huge. Tom and I can share one, but we bought two so we could share them again.
Yeah, we had it for a few days. yeah.
Yes.
But they're big.
Yeah.
They're good.
Another place along the Alcan is the Yukon Motel. A little hole in the wall restaurant, great food. Oh my goodness, their breakfast to die for. They also have a museum that talks about their indigenous people, and it's a very interesting museum.
And it's by donation.
And it's by donation, yes. And there's also a little RV park, which we have stayed at before. And so again, and they have fuel.
Yeah, they have.
So, I mean, it's a nice little place for if you just need to take a break for a little while and get off the road, stretch your legs, get something to eat, get some fuel, or if you're tired and you need to stay the night, there you go.
And we've had breakfast there on one trip, and we had dinner on another trip,
Yes,
and they never disappoint as far as the food.
right. Pullouts.
Pullouts are places on the
Usually.
side of the road, like a rest area, but with no amenities except for pit toilet.
And
A lot of them.
dumpsters.
And dumpsters.
But they're huge.
They're huge.
So if you're traveling with a few people in rigs, don't worry, you'll be able to pull in there. And we've slept there many times on different pullouts along the way. But we are fully equipped with solar and a lot of water.
And we're cheap.
And we're cheap, yeah, But there's also provincial parks in Canada. And they're usually very inexpensive, but they are first come, first serve, no amenities. So either way you go, there's a couple of ways to stop for the night that are either no money or very low cost. Now, a couple of places along the road.
Oh, yeah.
That we-
Liard Hot Springs. It's on the right-hand side as you go up. It's a natural hot spring. You get in there, I think it's $10.
$10 Canadian.
Yeah, $10 Canadian. If you give them US, $10.
You don't
Say
get any money
bye-bye.
back. Yeah.
Anyway, it's big.
Yes.
You walk down in there. It's got steps that walk down in there. You go to your right, and it gets hot. The farther you go, the hotter it gets. And you go to the left, it gets cooler. So you can kind of moderate. It is a sulfur smell.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. But
They have
we stop there every time.
They have a nice changing house that you can change into your bathing suits. Now but it's all open. I mean, it's not like you have little rooms. You just change and then you can change back.
And they do have first come, first serve camping.
We've done that.
Yeah, I forgot it wasn't expensive.
No, it really wasn't, and
But-
it was nice. No amenities, like I said, but so nice. It was very peaceful, very close to the springs that you could walk down to, and you don't have to worry about the wildlife getting in there too much because it's all electrified, because they've had bear and moose and everything else. So they do take our safety very seriously.
And we got there later in the day, and they had 3 sites left, I think, and there was 3 of us.
And we
And
got
our
'em.
site, it took 3 of us to get me in there.
It was kind of tough.
It was easy getting out, but it was tough getting in because of the trees. And we're only 33 feet. But
Then we had one travel that was 38 feet and one that was 36 feet. They had no problem where they were. So another place would be the Signpost Forest.
it's in Watson Lake. And if you've got to stop. What we do is we take a sign every year. You can order one off Amazon for $10 or anywhere else. I think our new one I'm paying $18 for. It's yellow. It'll really stand out this time. But anyway, we got 3 up there.
Yes, and you can nail them to these posts that they put up, and they continue to put them up. At last count, it was over 100.
It was over 100,000.
Over 100,000 signs from all over, not just the United States and Canada, but from Europe, all kinds of places. So it's just kind of interesting. And there's a really neat story about how that started.
It's neat to leave your mark
Yeah,
in
it
the
is.
correct way. So,
True. True. Okay. Another place that when you first start on mile 0 of the Alcan, you start in Dawson Creek. Well, that's
there's a Walmart
there's a
there,
Walmart there,
and
and
they don't mind boondocking.
and there's a lot of people who do
and
it
we hit that every time.
every time. And part of the reason so we can stock up on groceries and everything, and get anything we want. You know, going to Canadian Tire, getting some more Def, going to get something to eat at a restaurant.
I mean, we stayed there 2 nights last time, which they're perfectly fine with. And we disconnected, left the fifth wheel there, and we took the truck and we went to
Chetwynd,
which is
what,
an hour.
Yeah, a little over an hour away from Dawson Creek.
And if you've looked at our Instagram, I do have photos on there about the chainsaw carving. Every June they have a contest, and it's amazing what people can do with a chainsaw.
So what they do is they put out the previous year's carvings for the whole year, so that people can go through and just want to look at them.
There's got to be
hundreds,
a couple hundred through that whole town.
Yes.
And they're just kind of spread out everywhere.
Right. So if you're in that area, that's a really good place to stop for just a quick visit. It's nice. Another one was it Whitehorse we stayed in?
Yes.
Okay, Whitehorse is the last big city before you get into Alaska.
And we're not normally full hookup people.
No.
But that was full hookups. And we did laundry there where you're going to need Canadian coins for.
Yes.
But they'll give you change if the office is open. Anyway, it was full hookups, the best I can recall.
I think so.
And they've got a museum in that town.
They have a museum.
They got several things to see.
They do.
You could spend a few days there.
We went on a hike. We went through over a bridge that went over the water.
Yeah.
It was very nice. So a lot of things to do there if you want to have a couple of days of just downtime, getting things done for that last push. Because the last push is probably the most taxing. And I say that because there's a lot more frost heaves, a little bit more washboard roads. And so you need to definitely take your time during that part of it. But there's some beautiful country.
Kathy Paulson is a friend of mine. She has an alliance too. And I messaged her the other day and talked to her, see if she had any input. And she covered about everything. She's the one that came up with the windshield to remind us about that. She's driven now, I think this is going to be her ninth time. And she said last trip to get from Destruction Bay, which is not as bad as it sounds, although the roads are a little rough there, Destruction Bay to Tok, which is not that far, I think 126 miles, something like that. I think it took her 6 hours to do that. But you want to go slow. It's not a race to get there.
No.
Enjoy your trip. Slow down. There's no hurry. Slow down and enjoy the wildlife you see. They're not always at the road, but if you go slow, you're liable to see stuff. We had, what was that? Goats.
Goats.
Right beside us on our way up. You know, they were that close to the truck. So there's some neat stuff to see. But don't get in a rush. We met a guy at the Elks Lodge or the Moose Lodge in Fairbanks, and his truck camper had tilted. And he said, every time I went over a big bump, it would jump up in the air. Well, don't do that. You're destroying your vehicle.
Right. So. Anyway, the other thing is there's a lot of beautiful lakes and rivers, and so even if there's not wildlife, you're going to want to see those, and there are lots of pull-offs there. We stopped and picnicked, and watched the pretty water. I mean, so lots of things to do. Just take your time and enjoy it. This is a trip of a lifetime, and we're blessed that we've had the ability to go on several of them, and we're hoping for the next one starting the end of May this year.
But you can't predict the weather there.
No.
In 2015, we flew up there, and it was very hot.
Oh, it was hot.
2017, we drove up there, and it was warm.
It was.
But it was dry. And 2023, it was rainy. It was cool and rainy.
Yes.
So you just never know. So take jackets with you. You just don't know what the environment's going to bring. So, we've got 4 seasons worth of stuff in the camper.
In our camper, right.
Since we're in there 9-10 months a year now.
And take mosquito spray. Some years we get them, some years we don't. We've been both. We've had some where we've never had to use not
I think 2023 was the first year
Yeah.
we've really had to use it.
Had to use any kind
And
of
it wasn't
mosquito spray.
everywhere. It was just
But I
a
think
few
it was just
spots.
because it was so wet.
Yes, very swampy. Yeah.
So that's the reason. But anyway, I hope that these tips have helped you. And if you have any other questions, you can
Comment, email me. We have a Facebook page. We have Instagram, all for Teaching Tug Travels. Contact me anyway. Send me a message, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Also, if you would, since you're watching this, please subscribe. That way you can watch our videos going to Alaska. And if you're not going this year, you know, at least you'll have some knowledge for later on if you do want to go. But if you are going, hit us up while we're up there. We'd like to say hi.
And with that, we want you to have safe travels.
And make lots of memories. That's what it's all about.
And we love y'all. Bye.
Bye.